Welcome to Brain Power with Dr. Echo, where each week we discuss how your family can boost brain health by addressing mind, body, emotional, and environmental health. And now here's the episode. Hello, parents. Welcome to another episode of Brain Power with Dr. Echo. I have a wonderful guest with us today, Dr. Sandra Luyindula. I hope I said your name right. If I didn't, please correct me. Well, I'm going to let her introduce herself because she's an amazing, amazing doctor in North Carolina. And I want her to do justice to her introduction. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Dr. Sandra.
Hello. How are you, Dr. Echo?
Well.
So I am Dr. Sandra Luyindula. They call me Dr. L. I do have a license in North Carolina, primarily practice in South Carolina, also in Georgia and Indiana. I am a family medicine and lifestyle medicine physician here in South Carolina, and with a touch of aesthetics and weight management.
Woohoo! Wonderful. So, people, if you're looking for an amazing doctor, look no further. Here she is. So, we're going to chat today as two mommies who also happen to be physicians, who also need to keep our kids and ourselves and our entire family eating healthy. And we're going to break down easy ways for us to do that because guess what Dr. L was just doing before she came on? She was meal prepping. And
Yes,
that's perfect time for us to talk about what she's doing. It's so natural. So, Dr. L, tell us,
so
how
meal
can busy
prepping.
mommies meal prep? This thing called meal prepping, and it sounds
Yeah.
so like out there. So let's break it down to the easy
Oh
way
man.
you can do it.
Meal prepping always gets me in trouble, but I love to cook, right? But even if you don't, it's pretty easy. So I'm married. I have 3 children under the age of 10, and so that means it makes for busy days. And so having a private practice, my spouse also works. Coming home and trying to figure out what to cook for dinner every single day is not ideal. So first we spend an hour on the phone trying to decide what do you want to eat, and the kids decide something else. And then we have to go shop for it. That's another hour and a half. Then just to come home to find out you forgot 5 of the ingredients that you need for this new recipe you're magically trying to make that evening.
And then mommy says, it's time for oatmeal.
That's right. Or
All of you
cereal.
go to bed.
So that's not going to work. So in my household, we've always we have decided a long time ago to meal prep, and it wasn't just for the kids, it was for us as well. Coming home from work, we just didn't want to cook every night. And so when you hear meal prepping, people think, oh, I just cut the ingredients and I put it in the fridge and then I mix it as I go. That's not what we do. So I actually cook a full meal, um, and I will cook small amount of multiple sides. So my son loves Spanish rice, so I will make him Spanish rice today. I didn't finish it yet. My husband loves seafood, so do I. So I made seafood basil, and that a small quantity just to last us a day or two because it's seafood. But we make a lot of veggies, so squash, butternut squash, broccoli, zucchinis. So we'll make that and some meat on the side. So that on the days when the kids come from school, they want lunch, I know they have lunch because mom and dad are still working most of those days. And then the dinner, we don't have to worry about it. But it's not so much that they have to eat the broccoli and the chicken every single night. It's more lunch, they eat broccoli and chicken. Maybe dinner, they want to eat butternut squash and shrimp, whatever it is that they want to eat. So we make a small quantity of a lot of meals so that each of us can choose whatever you want to eat so it's not boring. And it takes me about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours. I can meal prep for a family of 5 for the whole week. And that's very helpful. It sounds like a lot, but it's doable and it's time saving during the week. And we take a break. So if during the week the kids want something else, we'll take a break in there and get something, eat out or bring it in, order out, and they will have that as a break.
Okay. Wow, I really like that idea. So the way I meal prep is make large amounts of food and like freeze. And I like this idea of small meal. So do you ever freeze or everything is in the fridge?
So most of it is in the fridge, but once I make, like, I have certain vegetables that take so long to make. So refried beans, for example, if I want to have refried beans, that process takes so long. And so I would make a large pot. When I say large, I mean like a big pot. And then I will refry it. I will seal it and then put those in the freezer. So on those days where we want it, we can just take one bag and thaw it and then eat it. So if it's something that takes me a very long time to make, and some of the traditional African food can take a long time to make, then I will freeze those. But in general, the butternut squash, the broccoli and such, it's just a quick one. And so that small amount only in the fridge.
Wow, I like that. So, how do you how do you come up with the menu? Like, what's the easiest way you found to come up with the different things that that your family will eat that you can make at a go?
So it began with what we like to eat. Then when the kids started going to school and having lunch at school, I will have a note like, "Hey, your son really loved this at lunch. He ate it well. Your daughter really loved this." So we started incorporating what they really loved from school lunches at times when they eat at school
Right.
to add to the menu. And then I just have some staple stuff. I know, excuse me, I know my youngest one loves, he will eat peas. So that's a staple meal that will rotate every 2 weeks or so. And then I will have peas one week, and then I'll have green beans the other week.
Okay.
Um, and even when we had to make baby food, same thing,
Mhm.
just so that they don't get so tired and bored. But we try, and beans are a pretty staple meal, full of protein and easy to cook. And
Yes.
so we will have that and rotate every other week. But there are some things that are made every week because they don't get tired of it. And honestly, it's a lifesaver. So it's a backup.
I love it. I love it. So it sounds like we mommies just need to take some me time, say an hour or less, and sit down and maybe list out the foods that your kids like and that you like, and then just sort of put it into a sort of a schedule, like a 2 week schedule. So it's not like you're eating the same thing every week, and then identify
Correct.
those things that are like very staple to your diet that
Correct.
you make in big amounts and you can freeze. Does that
Correct.
sound like I got that right?
Yeah, I mean, you just sit down, make a list of what you really truly like, including restaurant food, right? Because then when you have time, you can look at those recipes and say, "Oh, my kid really loved, broccoli soup from Panera, whichever one it is." And
Right.
then you look at the recipe and make a small batch. And if it's a hit, you know that every so often you have another meal to add to the menu. So
Right.
when I make the staple meals, because I've gotten so used to it, I can make five, six, seven at the same time. I
Mm-hmm.
can literally have all of them going at the same time.
Yep.
But when I have a new recipe to learn, that takes longer. So I don't make new recipes. I don't make more than one or two new recipes a week because it will take me too long. So I will make my staple meals really quick, and I'll have maybe an extra hour to learn a new recipe if I need to. If it's a hit, then I master it and I keep going. I incorporate it into my rotation. Um, but honestly, sometimes you don't even have to have a rotation because some weeks, some days during the week, you can eat out or you can order out. That's fine. But
Right.
it's just for us, it's being mindful of nutritious meals for our family. Time saving, if I don't have to spend an hour, 2 hours every night cooking, that's an hour, 2 hours that I can spend with my family once I get home.
Absolutely. And spend with yourself
Wow. After
too.
they go to bed, yes.
Right. Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm so glad we're having this conversation because it definitely impacts us as parents for more
Yes,
than we even think.
correct.
So, um, let's talk about shopping.
Ooh.
Yes, I heard that sound. So, what
Wait,
have
we're
you
shopping
found
food or else?
food shopping?
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, what are some tips as a lifestyle medicine doctor that you would give busy mommies and dads for shopping, for buying nutritious foods and actually just keeping track? Because I too have found that sometimes I'll go to the store, even with my lists, that maybe I didn't quite fully put together. And then I'll come back, I'm like, oh my God, I left 5 things. What in the
Yes.
world? So tell us what you found that helps you create, like, do an appropriate shopping for
Yeah,
your
yeah.
family.
So I have always been an online shopper,
Hmm.
and COVID just made it very convenient for me. And so because more stores were offering online shopping, so I didn't have to go. Um, but in general, I have 2 or 3 stores I know what food I get from each of them.
Right,
So I know that my fresh produce I get from this particular store. So if it's either Trader Joe's or Walmart or Aldi or Lidl or Publix, I know which food I get from each store.
right,
So every week when we go to the app, we started either Wednesday or Thursday. My husband and I just open the app and we ask each other, what would you like to eat this week? And just if there's anything additional. But because I've used the app so many times, my previous orders are already there.
right,
So what I have to do is just reorder
right.
what I want for that week. Um, and that helps me. It makes it very easy. So I just go to the store, pick up, or better yet, sometimes if you reach a certain amount, they deliver for you. So
Mhm.
then I'll just have the food delivered. So by the time I get home on Thursday or Friday afternoon,
Right,
my food has arrived and it's in the fridge. So early in the morning, sometimes before the kids even get up, then Saturday or late Friday night, I can meal prep. I can start a little at the time. If I have to season something, then I can do it Friday and let it sit overnight and it's
right.
ready to cook for the next day. So online shopping has been my best and easy thing for me to do. There are times where I have to go in the store. And the beauty of it is that the downside is you don't always know who's shopping for you. That's the problem. But the beauty is that if they don't pick the fresh produce, you can return it online. You can just say return, and the stores should honor your return. If not, you just go in by yourself and pick up the fresh ones. But it saves me more time to order online. And 96, 97% of the time, I have fresh fruit and I have fresh vegetables as well.
So when you say return, do you actually have to physically take it to the store now to give it
Not
back?
if it's spoiled, you don't.
Oh,
Some
okay.
I take a picture, I send it to them. I said, this is what your shopper, put in my cart, and it is spoiled. And some, especially if it's veggies, they usually don't ask you to return it because they have to trash it anyway.
Right.
But if it's something else, like if I order pot or something, I probably have to go return that. But in general, if it's fresh fruit and vegetables, they don't ask me to bring it back. I send a picture to show them that it's spoiled, and I can order another one or they just refund me. That means I just run to the store quickly and pick up whatever I want.
Wow, I like that. I liked that tip. I mean, I used online shopping during COVID and I fell off of it because I convinced myself that nobody was gonna pick the right thing for me.
It's true. It's true. And there are certain
So
things
I
that I
went back.
go to the store myself. I know, like especially the grapes and the raspberries, right? So you look on the bottom and you're like, oh,
Right? You look on the side, on the bottom,
yes, yes.
and you shake it. You're like, let's see which are the moldy ones come up.
Even the blackberries, like, oh, did you not see the small in these blackberries?
I know, right? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. But okay, I like that you're organized so much that I mean you can even go to the store using what's on your app already. So you don't
Yes,
even need an extra list. If you just go on your favorites, that
correct,
helps you even go through faster.
correct,
So there's multiple ways depending on what you
correct.
like to do,
Or
parents.
even if you don't want to order, you just go to your app and still reorder. It puts it in your cart. So that's what my husband and I will do sometimes. It puts it in our cart, especially like if we're looking for a pickup or delivery time that's not available. We
Right,
still order to put it in our cart. Then one of us will run to the store and go through the cart and delete as we go. So as you pick what's on your list, you just take it
right,
off and
right,
you in and out. And that also helps minimize the overspending and buying the extra stuff that you don't need and you won't use and that will spoil.
right.
But also sometimes going to the store help us with brand new ideas. Hey, we've been eating this squash for so long. Can we get the spaghetti squash this time? So it helps us, switch a little bit, add some variety to the diet. But in general, you have so many options that you can pick
Yes.
from.
I love that. That's something I did when I was making baby food. I would go
Yeah.
to the baby section and take pictures of the mixtures that they had and then go
Oh,
home and recreate it. So that's something
yes,
you can even do even with the packaged meals that are full of sodium and not good for you.
correct,
Sure.
correct,
Just go look at the mixtures for ideas and go recreate it at home.
correct.
Yeah. So that's a good one. Yeah, thank you.
You are
Oh, okay. So we've talked about shopping, talked about we've talked about how we get the meals that we're gonna cook. Um, so how do you decide, how do you teach your patients to um how do you teach your patients about the food groups, right? So how to eat balanced meals? Because we hear a lot about this, eat balanced meals. So what exactly does that even mean?
I usually, patient will try to ask, can I, and I've had messages and calls, phone calls like that. Can I eat this? Can I have this? Can I have that? Can I have this?
Right,
And not only does it add so much pressure on the patient side, it
right,
can also be tasking, right? For me as a physician.
right,
Um, and frankly, some of the food that they're asking, like, I'm not familiar with that. Now you have to go look it up.
right,
And so usually I tell them, whatever grows from the ground, start there, eat that. So that they don't have to ask, can I have a sweet potato? Can I have a baked potato? Can I have so in general, I tell them, what if it grows from the ground, start there.
right,
Because chances are, it's whole food and whole grain, most of the time. And
mhm,
then you can still enjoy the other stuff. So I teach lifestyle medicine. The emphasis is on plant-based whole food, but there are many patients who are not ready to become vegan or vegetarian, and that's okay,
mhm,
right? You just heard me say I made seafood in my house because I do love seafood. So if I want it, I will cook it and I will eat it, and that's for me. And
right,
that's the same principle I apply to my patients. If they're not ready, we go slowly and ask them, okay, you eat meat 7 times a week. Can we decrease that a little bit? Can we decrease that maybe to 5 times a week? And then we go, instead of eating it 3 times a day, can we do it 2 times a day? Then 1 time a day. And then we make progressive changes. When the patient sees that their health is getting better, the arthritis is getting better, they don't have as much inflammation, they notice, oh, my skin is looking better. Um, all of that is more motivation for them to even push harder.
right,
But it doesn't mean that they shouldn't enjoy their food, because when I become too restrictive is when they give up. And so the approach is usually individualized. It's slow. What do you want to achieve? These are the conditions you have. This is what you need to eliminate to see better improvement. So how do we get there? So we make small attainable goals with them until they reach them one at a time.
yes, absolutely, I agree. It's the tiny habits that are done consistently over time. That's
That's right.
what brings transformation. It's not the
That's it.
big,
Love that.
massive goal that you are not going to do. So
Correct.
listen to Dr. L. She's absolutely right. I love it. So even like water, and I tell people the brain needs the most water in the body. So how do we start? Just drink one extra glass of water a day. That's all. And
That's
just do
it.
that every week. And then in 2 weeks, you can add another glass of water.
Yeah.
And it's
Baby
just
steps.
those small steps. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But I also like that you pointed out that you don't have to be so restrictive. I mean, within reason. If you like seafood, you eat that once in a while. But don't go eating deep fried seafood every day. Now
Exactly.
that is where the
Exactly.
issue
So
is.
we educate on how to cook it, right? So
Right, exactly.
we tell them on how to cook it. Another doc and I are trying to work on a little recipe book to say, hey, can you try cooking this way instead of that way, and see if it helps a little bit. But yeah, fried food is definitely something I don't encourage them to do. But does that mean if they want fries that day, I would tell them, bad, 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 bad,
Yeah.
you'll be surprised, but just don't make it a habit. That's the problem. Just let's not make it a habit. But
No.
yeah, more baked, less fried.
Right, absolutely. So, Do you also pack the foods in like lunch containers already, like after you do the meal prep? So
Oh,
like
no,
you or your husband? Okay.
no, no. So because remember, I make, so this morning I have made one, two, five, five meals already, five dishes already. They
Right.
will go in either the glass Pyrex container, the big ones,
Right.
and just with a lid, so
Mhm.
that if you want the Spanish rice, but you don't want refried beans and you want pinto beans, you can actually dish out your rice and your pinto beans by yourself. I
Right.
don't have to package in container because you may not want broccoli that day. You want butternut squash. So you package it however you want it the day before. So for me to take my lunch to work, as I serve myself dinner the night before, I'll do my very best to put whatever I want in the lunch box, in my lunch container for tomorrow,
Right.
based on what I think I want to eat tomorrow. So I
Right.
put it in just big containers and everyone will just take whatever they want, including the kids. They'll tell you, can I have this, this, and that? And then you just take the big containers out and then you serve them and then they eat.
Wonderful. So that takes away why you have to eat the exact thing I gave you
Exactly.
today, which raises
Exactly.
your blood pressure and raises your kids' blood
That's
pressure.
right.
What is that?
And then they become picky eaters. They start picking at the food. I didn't really want to eat this today. So,
Right.
but granted, though, sometimes we do tell them, you're going to eat this veggie today
Mhm.
because you cannot just not choose
Right.
any vegetables on your plate.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but in general, we ask first, what would you like to eat today? And then they'll tell us. And we find that when we give them the option, they tend to eat it faster and better than me
Yep.
mandating what they need to eat. Now,
Absolutely.
when they don't make the healthy choices, they don't have any veggie on the plate, then we mandate a veggie on the plate and they have to eat it.
Yeah,
But
of
in
course.
general, when we ask them, what do you want? We find that it's better. They eat it at their own pace and they enjoy the food. So then it's not so restrictive.
Yes, that's so important because it gives them a sense of ownership over their
Yeah.
tummies and their brains, and them knowing they're eating good food that will help them grow stronger and
Yeah.
just love it. Yeah, that's wonderful to teach them that they have options, so healthy options,
Yeah.
and that
And
they
some
can.
autonomy, right? So
Yes,
that
right,
you can choose. And sometimes they choose something off the menu. Like I want I want pasta today. I'm like, I don't have pasta. But it takes 10 minutes to make pasta. So that could be like that's an example of a break during the week. We don't
right.
order a lot. So that break during the week is they want pasta. Put some
Mhm.
hot water on that stove, 10 minutes, and they have the pasta and they will eat it and be proud that the plate is empty.
Right. Yes. And of course, they will have some veggies with the pasta.
Of course. They will know that.
Of course. No, I love it. Wow. Parents, I hope as you're listening to this that you're getting some great ideas and seeing how simple it is, really. It's just a matter of making a few changes in how we think about healthy eating, and that it's not this big overwhelming task. Because when
Right.
we see it as a task, then we're less likely to do it and more likely to
Right.
shut down. But if we see it as, we're helping our brains be the very best versions of,
Yeah,
we're helping our brains grow and be healthy, and that runs our life, then we're more likely to make the good choices.
that's right.
So wow, Dr. L, Dr. Sandra, this
All
has
of the
been
above.
so good. All of the above, that's right. All of the above. And do you find that you and your husband working together on making the food list and even the interaction with what do you want to eat today? What does it do for your relationship?
Uh, both. I'm kidding.
Does it help your
um,
relationship? Have you found that?
yeah, it does. So, and then for the cooks out there, if your spouse says, you made that last week and it wasn't really my favorite, don't get offended. You asked, right? So sometimes you'll get those answers. Like, you made that last week and we tried it, but I didn't really like it. I'm like, oh, okay. So the reaction shouldn't be, I won't make that for you anymore. Okay, so
Go do it
constructive
yourself.
criticism. You didn't like that. But in general, you find more interaction. So we interact more, make decisions more about, And sometimes it becomes pillow talk, like you're literally sitting there ordering food. And that's just another way to have time together, time to communicate a little more and plan for our family together. Because
Yeah.
then I have your input in what you want to see in the menu for the following year. And my husband cooks too. My husband cooks as well. So there are certain things that
Wonderful.
we know what he's great at, and some other things he's just gotten lazy at because he claims, oh, you make it better. But I think that's his way of just kind of escaping that part. But he's a great cook.
We'll give him grace. It's
We
okay.
give him grace.
We won't tell him we all know. We
Yes,
found you out.
indeed.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what's your one last tip for parents and for kids of how they can incorporate healthy food without stress into their lives?
One day at a time. If your kid, you put some veggies on the table, there's really not having it, we substitute with a fruit at the end of dinner for dessert, right? So your dessert today will be an apple. Your dessert today will be grapes. So just incorporate some fiber, food full of antioxidants, right? So we get some blueberries or blackberries added on to their diet. Really take it easy. Learn to know what the kids love and what you love, and it's a day at a time. Don't make it too complicated. Don't force feed out any of them, although some of them may need it at times, but
Okay.
it makes it less enjoyable. So one day at a time.
Yep, I agree. I just thought of one last question. I know I'm
Yeah.
going back, but that's okay. So what is your take on organic versus inorganic?
Oh
Or
boy.
yeah, that can be a whole nother podcast, can't it?
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
Okay, so let's
Um,
table that. We will come back for another podcast on that.
we'll come back. But just a quick answer to that. Do I buy all organic food? No, I don't. Um, I have had friends who work at stores and what's labeled organic is not always organic. But then I also have some very good friends who um, grow their food for a living, right? And so that's a huge conversation. But I don't always buy organic food. And frankly, for some of my families, we can always afford organic food, right? Because of the price tag. And so then you start talking about how do you clean your food before you prep it, right? If it has any pesticide, how do you clean it before you even use it? And
Right.
so I wouldn't use that as another area to stress if you cannot get organic food.
Yes. And so just give one tip, since now we've talked about how do you clean your food. What's one way? I mean, we're already in it. What's one way? What are a couple of tips on how to clean your food appropriately to get the pesticides off? Because that is a huge problem. I just
I've
tested
used
my
water
daughter
and
and the pesticide level was elevated, and I was like, wait a second. So, yes, tell the
I've used water and vinegar. Just mix water and vinegar and clean the food out and put it away. But you also have to be careful. Certain food you cannot cook. I mean, you cannot clean and then store, right? Because then it'll spoil. So, for example, if you put all your blackberries in water and then try to store it, that's
yeah.
gone. And so cleaning maybe right before you eat it. So usually water and some white vinegar has been my go-to to clean. And they have a lot of other things out there that are sold as organic cleanser for fruit and veggies and all of that. Apple cider vinegar has been used as well. So I've used those in the past.
Okay. And the other tip I would add is for fruits that like apples, you can use like a soft brush with like a
Yes,
with
yes,
soft bristles to like just scrub on the inside of it or like
yes,
where the core is and around it just to get extra amounts of the
yes.
pesticides off of it before
And
you
carrots.
what?
And carrots as well.
And carrots, correct. Yes. And do that with those that have the thicker skin.
Correct.
And I found that even fruits like bananas that have a thicker skin, you don't necessarily have to buy those organic because of the
The
protection
thickness. Yeah.
it has already. So yeah, but definitely stay tuned for another podcast on that. We can deep dive into the whole thing. But I hope parents that you had a wonderful time. I did learn I hope you learned as much as I did. And thank you so much, Dr. L, for coming on. So can you please tell the listeners where they can find out more about you and how they can come
Yeah.
join your
So we have, I have a private practice here in Greenville, South Carolina, again with licenses in North Carolina, Georgia, Indiana, as well. So it's called The Well MD, THEWELL MD, and you can find us at the Well MD, thewell-md.com, or on social media. I am Dr. Sandra Luyindula, as my name appears on your screen, or the Well-MD or the Well.MD on Instagram. So feel free to find us out there. And then you can also find me on the Well Project, which is the nonprofit branch where we provide resources to nations in general. So that's where you can find me.
Wonderful. I love what you do. So thank you, parents. I hope as you listen to this, and if you enjoyed, if you have questions, leave us some questions, leave us a review. Please share this with someone in your life that needs to hear about this, and wishing you a wonderful day and see you on the next episode. Thank
And
you.
thank you for having me, Dr. Echo.
My pleasure.